types of wool and 11 things you need to know about wool. Welcome to Agronomag, and this is what we're talking about today. The shorn coat of the sheep is probably known since the Bronze Age as a textile material. The ancient Egyptians already opened wool factories on a large scale to process this precious material. Until the 19th century, wool was considered a precious material, and the wearing of woolen clothes was a privilege for wealthy citizens. Only since sheep's wool was imported in Europe from Australia and New Zealand, it became available in sufficient quantities so the warming material was affordable for the rest of the population. The sheepskin consists of the outer, stiff and coarse hairs which serve as protection against the weather, as well as the inner, soft and fine hair which regulate the body heat. The actual sheep wool is extracted from the inner hair. Characteristic of the fluffy material is the flaky outer layer of the hair and its ripples, which is very different depending on the breed. The more uniform the fibre structure, the better the quality of the wool. During wool growth, sebaceous glands produce the body's own fat lanolin, which wraps around every woolen hair and binds the hair together so that no moisture gets on the skin. Lanolin is also used as a cosmetic product and in medicine. The shaved fur of sheep is also called fleece. The best wool grows on the back and on the sides. On average, each sheep delivers 3.5 kilograms of wool depending on race and age. Through the breeding of the past centuries, the amount has approximately tripled. Felt is also made from the raw wool. For this purpose, the fibres are rolled and densely intertwined under the influence of moist heat, pressure and soap. Wool is considered to be one of the best and healthiest raw materials available for textiles, depending on their quality and strength. The yarns are used for outerwear, stockings, sportswear, up to rustic knitwear and carpets. Hats and slippers are made from felt. The benefits of wool, it seems surprising, but since ancient times it has been discovered that wool has healing properties. Experts believe that the therapeutic effect is based on gentle contact with the skin. The fine fibre thus stimulates the blood capillary system, helping to increase the body's natural healing power. Thanks to the mild heating effect, the muscles relax. The micro-massage of wool yarns rivals with pressopuncture and reflexology. The thicker the fabric or the wool, the greater is its energy action. That is why homemade objects of natural wool are beneficial for sick or elder people. The woven yarns accumulate and maintain the air, thus achieving the thermoregulation effect. Wool absorbs moisture and dust, acting as an organic filter for the body. The material contains a natural substance called lanolin, with anti-inflammatory and impermeable, so wool, although it absorbs moisture up to 30% of its weight, does not give the feeling of wetness. The moisture evaporates slowly and the wool remains dry. Aside from some of its more controversial properties that are still up for discussion, wool does have other important benefits that are recognised both by those who use it for industrial properties as well as those who prefer handmade and organic clothing. It's water repellent. The interplay of the two fibre parts which compose the wool is responsible for the moisture management of the wool. The multi-layer outer shell is hydrophobic, so water repellent, but it lets water vapour pass through the fibre. Thus, it is possible that wool fibres can absorb about 30% of their own weight of water without the wool feeling wet. Mechanical self-cleaning. Another fibre-based property of wool is its mechanical self-cleaning quality. Put quite simply, strands of two different types of fibres entwined with each other in a liana-like manner in the filament trunk swell to different degrees when moisture is absorbed and released. Firmly connected, they put the wool fibre in motion. This self-movement of the fibre repels dirt particles laying on the fibre surface. These dirt particles remain only on the surface, they cannot penetrate into the fibre. Due to this natural process, wool doesn't get dirty so fast. Chemical self-cleaning. The chemical self-cleaning power of wool is remarkable and responsible for its comfort. The complex physical and chemical structure of a wool fibre allows it to absorb or neutralise a variety of chemicals. Whether this is hydrochloric or sulfuric acid, toxic carbon compounds based on benzene, or the ingredients of cigarette smoke, wool destroys these foreign substances. That's why wool clothing doesn't smell so much even when it's dirty. It's non-flammable and anti-static. Finally, wool is both non-flammable and anti-static. A spark burns quickly a hole in synthetic clothing while wool remains unaffected. And anyone who has ever felt a spark when touching a metal door handle or had their hair standing up after putting on a blouse made of synthetic material knows how to appreciate the wool's lack of static charge. Types of wool. You might think that all wool comes from sheep or that all wool is the same, but this is not true. Wool differs in density, colour, shininess and other important properties depending on its origin. So number 1, we have lambswool. Like for the most types of wool, the best quality lamb wool is obtained from the first shearing of the sheep. This is considered the softest and finest wool, and it typically shorn from lambs that are not yet 7 months old. Sheep produce wool depending on their breed, age, and other health factors, but the yield is about 1 to 13 kilos annually. Some breeds produce wool that is more resilient, usually used for carpets, rugs, or upholstery, while the softer wool is used for clothing. Number 2, Merino wool. It's considered to be the finest and softest sheep wool, and is named after a sheep breed. Merino wool is popular among luxury clothing brands. It's so fine that it can have a diameter of down to 17 microns. Merino sheep originated from Spain, but now most of the merinos come from Australia, up to about 80%. Merino needs to be processed because it can be spun to a yard, and because the wool needs scouring to get rid of the fatty grease lanolin. However, only about half of the initial fleece can be used to produce clothing items. Third, we have cashmere. Cashmere is obtained from goats, more precisely from the undercoat of the cashmere goat. Cashmere is an extremely fine material. The diameter of the fibre is around 18 microns, which makes it similar to the finest merino. The finest cashmere is collected from the neck region of the undercoat and needs to be combed over 1 to 2 weeks. One goat usually yields only about 150 grams of cashmere each year, which explains why this material has such a high price. Although cashmere has resilience similar to the one of sheep's wool because it's finer, it's more delicate and soft on the skin, in most cases when cashmere is finished into clothing, the nap is raised on the wool to further improve its softness. Number 4, mohair. Mohair wool should not be confused with the Angora yarn obtained from the Angora rabbit. In fact, mohair is obtained from the Angora goat. It has a distinctive frizzy look because the guard hairs from the top coat are often mixed from the hairs from the undercoat. Mohair fibres have a slightly larger diameter of about 20 to 40 microns, similar to wool, but they are stronger and smoother because they are also longer. Like in the case of wool, the finest mohair is obtained from the first 3 shearings of the Angora goat. Angora goats are farmed in a similar way to sheep but on a much smaller scale, hence the higher price of mohair. One Angora goat yields between 3 kilos of mohair in a year. Number 5, the Angora. Angora is obtained from the undercoat of the Angora rabbit. The fibre is very fine, only about 10 to 15 microns in diameters. This is why Angora is so incredibly soft compared to all other types of wool. The quality of Angora depends on the proportion of the guard hair mixed with the undercoat. There are 4 rabbit breeds used for the production of the Angora. These are the English rabbit, the French rabbit, the giant rabbit, and the satin rabbit. Because Angora fibres are not as resilient, they are mixed with stronger elastic materials. The production of Angora is costly and often questionable for ethical reasons. The rabbits are kept in separate cages and in near darkness to protect their undercoat. The hair of the Angora rabbit grows quickly, but one rabbit can produce only up to 400 grams of hair each year. Number 6, the alpaca. Alpaca wool is obtained from the hairs of the alpaca, an animal native from South America which produces some of the finest hair. Alpaca hairs are very fine and soft, having a diameter of only 15 to 40 microns, but those that are over 30 microns can be itchy, so they're not suitable to make clothing items. In most cases, alpaca fibres are blended with other wool to improve its draping qualities. Alpaca hairs are natural hypoallergenic, making it superior to other types of wool like cashmere, and it needs less preparatory steps. As there are different breeds of alpaca, the quality of the hairs also differs. The Suri alpaca is a very rare breed, so the hairs collected from it are very expensive. On the average, an alpaca can yield about 3.5 kilos in a year. Number 7, camel. The undercoat of camels is very soft, making it a good choice for producing clothing items. Camel hair also has very good insulation properties, even better than wool. However, there's also an important disadvantage to camel hair aside from being rarer to obtain. It's less resilient and can become worn out easily. Number 8, the Qiviut. This is a fibre obtained from the domesticated Alaskan musk ox, and it usually has a taupe grey colour. The main advantage of this fibre is that it's 8 times warmer than wool, although it has the same weight. Therefore, it's used for gloves, sweaters, hats, scarves, and other types of winter clothing. Number 9, Vicuna. This is a very expensive wool, if not the most expensive, as it's sold for up to $3,000 per yard. It's considered to be one of the softest and finest fibres, but it's also very rare, especially since the Peruvian government has strict guidelines regarding the harvesting and exporting of Vicuna, the animals that produce this wool. Number 10, Llama. Related to the alpaca, the llama produces the type of fibre that is naturally glistening. The llama fibres are weaker and coarser, but they're suitable to produce warm clothing items. However, llama fibres are rarer, so you won't find many items made of this wool on the market compared to other types of wool. And at number 11, we have the Cashgora. This is a less common type of fibre obtained from a crossbreed of an Angora doe and a Cashmere buck. It's finer than mohair, not as fine as cashmere fibers, so more like something in between. And now we've covered the 11 types of wool, let's cover 11 amazing facts about wool. In an archaeological site in Egypt, clothes made of wool some 3,400 years ago were discovered, which highlights the fact that people have found it useful since antiquity. That feeling of itching that some people experience while wearing wool is actually due to the uneven thickness of the wool fibers from which the coat is made. The standard thickness is 28 microns. On the label of natural wool garments, there always appears the letter S followed by a number. It precisely determines the fineness of the wire used in the finished product, measured in microns. In the same way, on some labels you can find the Super S lettering followed by a number. This sign certifies that the best, purest and finest wool was used, which is also freshly collected, called virgin wool. Also on the labels where Super S appears, it can also be said that virgin wool was mixed with rare wool such as cashmere, alpaca or mohair. According to international standards, the number scale goes up to 210 at the moment. The record for the fastest shearing of a sheep is held by Hilton Barrett from Australia with 39.31 seconds. Wool can be extended up to 70% of its natural length without breaking. A product can be labelled as 100% natural wool under EU rules, as long as it contains no more than 5% inadvertent impurities. Wool is made from fibres collected from various other mammals, not only sheep. The fibres can be twisted into yarn and then textiles. Modern wool fibres range from 16 microns to 40 microns. Wool was used as a valuable commodity for centuries. For example, when King Richard I was captured in 1192 by the Holy Roman Emperor, Cistercian monks paid their part of the ransom in 50,000 sacks of wool. Wool is used not only for clothing but also in other industries like the producing of piano dampers or absorbent pads. It's a biodegradable material which can be used including fertilizing plants because it contains 17% nitrogen. Wool can absorb and repel water at the same time. We hope if you had any questions about wool, we've managed to answer them all in this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time.